I'm in the Dham and everything's beautiful, and maybe when I leave the Dham I'll be challenged.
I'm not a kind expert.
You did it.
Is this okay?
Yeah, you did it. So we ask ourselves that question, why? What is it? What's going on? So like Prabhupada said, because you hate Krishna. Well, somebody hates Krishna 100%, 50%. Maybe we're down to 3.5% or 7.8%. And so you ask yourself that question, why? And say, because still there's this tendency to want to be Krishna. That's the answer.
But Niranjan Swami gave once a nice example that like pure devotee is like a bird, and for him Krishna consciousness is like flying, so it's natural. But we are like airplanes, that we sometimes are like starting and flying, meaning that sometimes we are Krishna conscious, but we have to land, and there are like times that we are not Krishna conscious. We have to like charge ourselves, and then again start. And
well, the morning program in a sense is a daily charge. But I don't know if you or someone was asking me a question the other day. It's this very interesting question. We've all thought of this. You have realization. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be here, but sometimes you have powerful realizations, isn't it?
Why you are losing?
And then, a week later, you can't even remember what it was. And last week I was so like...
And you said that we should write down
Yeah, I should write. I have a whole book of realizations. Usually those realizations are coming when you're in a situation that's forcing you or causing you in some way to be more Krishna conscious. Or you're just... that week was a good week for japa, or it was a good week for reading, or it was a good week for sangha, or you overcame some big challenges in your service, and so you got realizations. Because you needed those realizations and you wanted them. And so when you're not getting them, then you might say, well, why Krishna's not giving me them? Is it that I don't want them or need them? Because I'm in a different consciousness now. So Krishna might say, well, right now you're kind of in a lazy consciousness, so you don't need any realization. You only need a realization as, where the sweet balls are. That's all you need to know right now. But when you need more realization, Krishna gives it to you. So you must have been in a state of consciousness where there was a need or there was a situation that was creating those realizations because you were in a good state of Krishna consciousness. So that's something to consider also. Realizations, Prabhupada said, this is very interesting, it's in the Bhagavad Gita. There's a lot of little things in Bhagavad Gita that you may not realize are there. There's just like in between sentences in a purport, one line or two, and sometimes you miss them because you're following the thread of thought and it's like a sidebar point. Prabhupada said, your advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on your realization. And so, a devotee is very careful to keep himself in a situation where he'll have realization. Isn't that interesting? Like the devotee will not allow himself to be in a situation where he won't be having realization because his Krishna consciousness is dependent on having realization. Isn't it? If we have no realization, how can we be Krishna conscious? It's really difficult, isn't it?
Impossible.
Prabhu, what's your realization? I don't know. I don't have any today. That's not good. Because realization, you know what realization is like? You're in a forest. You're trying to get out, and your GPS says, take a right at the fourth tree. And you're like, what's the fourth tree? So you count 4 trees. Is this the fourth tree, or the third tree, or the fifth tree? And so realization is, it's the fourth tree, go right here. Go 6 trees to the right, and you'll see a landmark. And then you go 6 trees, and there's not a landmark. And you go, oh. Then you see it, 7th tree, realization. I counted 6 wrong, or whatever. So realizations are paths out of the forest. That's what they are. They're insights into something that's going to help you take another step towards Krishna. And Maya is a covering which is going to help you make a step in the wrong direction. So we all have this experience, right? So we need realization, because if we don't have realization, then we're going to be lost in the forest. And Maya's going to say, no, 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 it's 8 trees. Take a right at 8 trees, when it's actually a left at 6 trees. But without the realization, we'll be misled. So that's why realizations are so important. And in this purport, I think it's in the verse Mahatmanas Mamparta, Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter. Daivim Prakriti Mashrita. Prabhupada saying that the Mahatmas are very careful that they won't allow themselves to be put in a situation where they won't have realization. That is such a powerful statement. Meditate on that. Make a t-shirt. Tattoo it in your brain, or maybe on your forehead, so other people can see it. It's very powerful. If we're always careful to be in situations where we'll have realization, which means good association, good rounds, reading, worshiping deities, being in the dham or a temple, or around a temple, then as long as we have realization, we'll know which way to move, what's the next step. But without realization, Maya says, aha, you've been chanting bad rounds. Okay, let's get to work on you now. You are a sitting duck for my operation. And she'll go, it's the 8th tree, turn left. There's candy at the 8th tree. Oh, candy, really? Right? Your guru just told you, don't eat candy, but you forgot. Right? That's how Maya works. Tanya, and then, yeah.
She said that if we hate someone, that means that we hate Krishna. How do we deal with other negative emotions? For example, like anger. Sometimes we need to state our, principles. Sometimes people are just like really give a reason for such negative feelings. Or even if we don't feel that correctly, as long as we are on the stage, how do we deal with negative emotions? Because for me, it contradicts with being sincere sometimes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Sometimes we are just like afraid of offending other devotees and so on, and still we just don't know how to work with this.
That's a big topic, because it's really the topic of alignment. Well, it's 2 topics: emotional control and alignment, because anger is out of alignment with bhakti. But obviously there's some people that make us angry, or some situations that make us angry, because they're triggering something within us. And so, first step 1, what are they triggering? Is to understand what my triggers are, and then work on my triggers. And your triggers may be deeply rooted, very, very deeply rooted. Why did I get so angry? Because he said he was going to come at 9, and he came at 9:10. What's the big deal? Well, I've been let down. I had a big, huge letdown in my life, and now I can't stand to be let down. So there's a trigger. Oh no, now I understand. Oh, that's why I'm getting angry. So you want to understand these things so you can align your heart, mind, and intention, everything with Krishna consciousness. So sometimes we just have to look at the cause. But as a philosophical point, it's nice to meditate on the qualities of a devotee and try to emulate those as far as possible. Because if I'm trying to be kind, humble, meek, a well-wisher to everyone, that's pretty antagonistic to anger. It's total opposite. So by trying to act in ways which kind of which would neutralize the anger, that's also another strategy. And that's a good strategy, because then you're acting as a devotee. You're acting properly. So maybe if I'm angry because I feel let down, maybe I just have to practice being more trusting, or being more trustworthy myself. We were saying in the retreat, and sometimes when you have a problem, you have to act in the opposite way. So maybe it's trust. I have to practice being more trusting. But trust the right people. And then if I trust the right people, because they're trustworthy, It helps me overcome that fear of being let down. And then maybe that was all it was, and then your anger issue is solved. Or maybe it's deeper. I need control. It's more rooted in the original psychology of leaving Krishna and controlling. But we have to understand what it is. At the same time, if you try to act as a devotee, then it will counteract those negative emotions. But, it's easy to say don't be affected by your emotions. That's the other third of the answer. Sometimes you're going to be emotional. But the question now is, what do you do? I can't say you won't get angry. Something will anger you. Something will anger all of us. But then the question is, what are we going to do? Are we going to let the anger control us, or are we going to deal with it? So I think that's extremely important, because some of us feel like, well, when the emotion hits, there's nothing we can do, because it just hit. It just took us over. But we want to try to be a little better and be able to deal with it, detach from it, observe it. Okay. So I'm angry. So instead of saying I'm angry, you can say I'm observing that I'm angry. It's very interesting to observe how angry I am. That's a different way of thinking, because you are not the anger. You're spirit soul. You're not anger. You are feeling anger, but you're not. We say, I'm angry. No, you're not. You're feeling anger. You are not angry. You are spirit soul. Angry is not your identity. But when we say I'm angry, then we've identified with the anger, and that's why it's difficult to control it. But if you say, I'm feeling angry, I'm observing, it's very, very interesting right now. Radhika is really interesting. I'm observing how angry you're making me right now. Really interesting to observe this. I'm detached from my emotions. It's just so strange. Anger is such a strange thing. I actually feel like strangling you right now, and it's just interesting to watch my emotions play out this way. But don't worry, I won't do it, because I'm emotionally controlled. So it's easier said than done, but it's something like that. Okay, I recognize I'm angry. If I know why, this person came late, now I know why. It's not their fault. It was raining. Sure, they came late. And it's an issue from the past where I was really heartbroken, so I don't trust people, whatever. It's easier to deal with. And I'm getting all riled up. I shouldn't. Just, detach. So it's not easy. But we're supposed to be detached, right? So you can observe your emotions. That's Buddhism, yes. So sometimes Buddhism, Buddhism for the mind, and emotions. So it's connected with Krishna, detached. Yes.
Спасибо большое за вашу милость. У меня вопрос о природе милости. Thank you so much for your mercy. I have a question about the nature of mercy. Учитывая эту милость, свободу выбора живого существа, возможно ли в конечном итоге ей сопротивляться?
Half hour. Okay. Excuse me.
Does mercy take into account the freedom, the liberty, the free will of the living entity? And is it possible
Yes.
to counteract, to resist mercy?
Yes and yes. Yes and yes. Oh, we're all very good at resisting mercy. There's no question. You ever get an order from your spiritual master and it's so hard it just dissolves in your mind and you forget it? Because you can't, fulfill it.
4 a.m.
Yeah, get up at 4 a.m. Oh, that one, I don't know where that one went. There was some acid in my brain that dissolved that instruction. And how many instructions have we dissolved because we're resistant? Right? So, that what you stated is actually the problem. The resistance to the mercy that we're being given. That's the problem. The problem is not finding the mercy. The problem is resisting it. It's especially here in Mayapur, it's thrown at you all the time. Right? All sides. Yes.
конечно, что это природа Господа милость, что он, его желание сопротивляться. But at the same time, I feel like this is the nature of God to bestow His mercy upon everyone. And I feel like His mercy and His willingness to bestow His mercy upon us is stronger than my resistance. Is it true? Is it true? Or maybe this is...
I don't think you have a lot of resistance. To make a statement like that means you don't have a lot of resistance. You're humble, so you think you have a lot of resistance. We all have resistance. But what you say is true. Krishna will do everything He can to give us mercy. And so as long as we don't do everything we can to avoid it, it'll get through. But what to speak if your arms are open, then you can really get it. But He'll definitely try. If Krishna sees that you're sincere, He'll take care of you. Even if you're resistant, He'll make sure He'll make sure you get the medicine, right? Maybe when you fall asleep, and He puts it in. Because sometimes Krishna knows our weakness, but because He knows our sincerity, He'll get the mercy in. So our resistance it's not conscious, it's subconscious, it's conditioned. And our conscious mind wants the mercy. Consciously we're sincere, subconsciously we're conditioned, so we may resist it out of fear or for some other reason. So sincerity is really the most important. And if we're sincere, even if we're resistant a little bit, Krishna will make sure we get mercy. But the less resistant, the more you get mercy. Okay? Last question. I have to leave a little earlier today, so. Yes?
I don't speak so much English.
¿Te puedo traducir?
No, I want to try.
All right. Okay. I'll translate it into Spanish for you.
It's about you talking so much about forget this mercy. You need effort. You need
Effort, yeah. Fuerte.
With Vaisheshika Prabhu in Shantipur, he talks so much about these sankalpas that our founder acharyas or our Guru Parampara make for give this mercy to everybody, And now my question is, I see yesterday in the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur with you that they have samadhis, they make so much effort for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like what I can do for get this mercy, to give really Krishna consciousness to other levels, give to so much person, like this person, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, he chanting like 10 millions of holy names before to give this. And I'm feeling so much what I can do, what I can do for give to others.
Very good question. We went to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. He was feeling the mercy and feeling so fortunate and maybe undeserving and feeling like, I just can't keep this for myself. What can I do to give the mercy? The best thing you can do is become Krishna conscious, because when you become Krishna conscious, you'll always be giving, because you're always thinking about Krishna and you're always thinking and you're compassionate, and so your heart is open. There's nothing better than being Krishna conscious. So you come here to Mayapur and you get the mercy, you grab it, bucket loads of it, and then when you go back, distribute bucket loads of it. That's the idea. It's not like I'm going to keep it for myself. Because if you keep it for yourself, the mercy is going to dry up. But when you go back to your fields and you take the mercy you're getting here and you distribute it, it's going to even grow more. So the only reason you wouldn't be Krishna conscious is that you're not distributing the mercy. So that's the idea. Is that okay?
And it's about this effort, no? Maybe I'm thinking make some boats, some sankalpas because you told this about, okay, you want mercy, but one person wake up so early and he chanting 32 rounds, and it's natural, no, that he can give more because they have more. But in my situation, I'm feeling sometimes I'm so enthusiastic, and sometimes it's so much hard for me. But I want to tell you humbly, what do you think that I can do for growth? I know 16 rounds, all of this, we practice, but I want to make maybe a little more. But what do you think that is good I can start?
You answer that question. If you had to answer that question, what would you say?
I don't understand this answer.
Si tú tuvieras que contestarte a ti, si alguien te preguntara esa pregunta, ¿tú qué le contestarías?
Ask to Mahatma Prabhu.
But the next step is different for everybody. So you look at your life and you ask yourself, what's the next step? That was that whole seminar. Coming to the next level. What's the next level for you? Maybe it's overcoming pride, or maybe it's starting a project. Maybe it's an attitude I need to change. Maybe it's stopping complaining. Maybe it's being too selfish, or whatever. That's a question you have to ask. And then when you find out what it is, then pray for that, or pray to give it up, depending on if it's a positive or a negative. We did a workshop on prayer, and I asked everybody one question, and I thought this was a very powerful question. I said, what do you think is the biggest obstacle between you and Krishna? Like if that obstacle was not there, basically you wouldn't have any significant problems. What is that one thing? Everybody had to meditate on it and discuss with their partner. It's very interesting, this question, because you think, okay, whatever it is, lust or pride or envy, whatever it is, or maybe all three, and you think, what my life would be like if those didn't exist in my life. And say, what problem would I have? And you think, actually the road it's like, the road to Calcutta at 2 a.m. There's nobody on the road. There's no obstacle. There's nothing there. So that's an interesting question. And then when you determine what it is, then you offer a prayer. You compose a prayer. This is what you should be praying for. The very thing that's the biggest obstacle, obviously, should be the thing you pray for. Or the very thing that's most important for you to achieve, obviously, should be the thing you're praying for. Right? So you find out what it is and pray for it. One last question, and then we're going to take prasadam. Hare Krishna.
You say that Prabhupada has said that the mercy comes by the five principles of devotion.
That's what I said, but that was my...
So
yeah.
My question is, sometimes like the enthusiasm is so high, and the very next day the enthusiasm can be very low.
Yes.
On these five basic principles only. So what is the practicality we should do if the enthusiasm is very low?
Okay.
In terms of these five.
Very good question. You say like, you're doing sadhana, and then all of a sudden one day you look at your bead bag and it's like... Can you pull your phone out and go buy something on Amazon? So he's saying, what do you do if you're not enthusiastic? And the answer is very simple. Be enthusiastic. There's no other answer. If it's important to maintain something steadily, then you require enthusiasm. You require some degree of inspiration to maintain it steadily. So what do you do when you don't have it? You have to do it anyway, and you have to fake that enthusiasm. So you're sitting there, you're looking at your beads and going, your mind saying, yesterday was bad. Actually, yesterday was torture. And I just don't feel like doing it. I'll do it later, and I'm tired. And all that's going through your mind, and you have to say, I get to chant, I want to chant, and I love to chant. That's what you have to say. I get to chant, I want to chant, and I love to chant. Japa ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. That's what you have to do. If you get my affirmation book, that's one of the affirmations. And that affirmation is there because as a pure devotee or a pure soul, you do want to chant, you do appreciate it, and you do love it. But sometimes you become covered, so this is connecting you with what's deeper underneath that covering. You know, a lot of times we get covered and there's something underneath and we just have to access it. So this is one way, kind of, you could say artificial way, but it accesses that. I really want to do this. In the japa workshop, we do an exercise on appreciation. Do we always appreciate the holy name? Not always. But an exercise on appreciation shows you that if you just think about it, you will appreciate it. Even if you don't feel like chanting right now, you can switch what you're focusing on. We're actually in Australia. They want me to do a class on the mind. I think the topic is you control it or it controls you. So we talk about controlling the mind, but we don't talk about attention, where we put the attention. It's not always about control, it's just about where do you put your attention. So you don't want to chant, why don't you put your attention on appreciation? So you can put your attention right now on appreciating the holy name, and then it switches how you feel about the holy name. So rather than just say, well, I don't really feel like chanting today, yesterday was bad, I've got a headache, so many things to do, why not take the focus off that, move the laser a little more to appreciation, and then appreciate the holy name. And then now you feel like chanting. Does that make sense? So don't always think of controlling the mind, think of just controlling the attention. Put your attention on your intention. So my intention is to chant good rounds. Let me put my attention on something that would inspire that. And I feel that a lot of us are really bad at controlling our attention. We don't know how to do it. You want to do a fun exercise? I will help you control your attention. Put your attention on this wall. Without moving your head, put your attention on the wall behind you. Now put your attention on the ceiling. Don't look at it, just put your attention there. And now put your attention on the floor. And now put your attention on the wall to the right of you. And now put your attention to the wall to the left of you. So you're moving your attention, you can do it. Put your attention on the floor, the ceiling, the wall to the left, the right, front and back. You can do that also. So if I would speak about the mind and you'd give me like 1 minute, basically I would say is we allow ourselves to put our attention on things which are destroying us, depleting us, not things which are enthusing us. So even if I'm not enthused, I should learn how to put my attention on something that would enthuse me in that moment. And appreciating, if it's japa, appreciating the holy name will definitely enthuse you. It'll definitely shift. And I don't think we realize how quickly we can actually shift our attitudes and shift our emotions. You know, like I have this experience with my mother. It's so funny. Maybe you have this experience with your mother. About every 3 months, my mother would hit a wall and start complaining about how difficult it is to be a housewife and a mother, and she feels like a slave and nobody cares, and no one appreciates her, right? So she'd be telling us this. Nobody appreciates me, I just cook all day, and then after dinner you all leave and nobody helps clean, and you know, I don't remember what she said because I was like, boop. You know, I was a bona fide 16-year-old son. I was just like, she's crazy. You know. But it was something like, nobody appreciates me and I'm a slave, basically, right? Completely forgot what I was saying. What? Oh yeah. So it's so funny. And sometimes she would be ranting and raving and howling and screaming, and everyone left the kitchen because it was too heavy. And my father would be in the bedroom, and I'd be in my bedroom, and my sister would be in her bedroom, and we'd like close the door. But my bedroom was closest. And then the phone would ring. And it was her friend, and she'd start talking. Completely mood shift. They'd be laughing, talking. This like in 30 seconds, I was like 16. I'm like, what happened? What is going on? She's laughing and joking with her friend, and she was screaming at us for a half an hour. And it only took 30 seconds to shift. So you've probably seen this in yourself or other people. So it's proof you can shift, So her friend just shifted her. It shifted her attention on, oh, remember last week we were doing, oh, that was so funny. Oh, man, I can't believe we did that. We were so stupid. Yeah. Completely shifted, right? And so we get stuck on some negative, and then, it's so bad, it's so boring, it's so hard, I don't like it, blah, blah. Like, why? We have to be able to learn to be more in control of our attention and then focus it on positive. Because when you focus on negative, it drains you. And why would you want to be drained? You focus on positive, it inspires you. You focus on appreciation, it's so inspiring. Oh, Radhika, she just did this stupid thing. She always does that. I can't stand it. When's she going to learn? She's never going to learn love. And so the more you think like that, the more difficult it is to even be around, 3 miles from her, isn't it? But when you think, Radhika's such a nice devotee, she works so hard, she's so sincere, immediately, just total different experience, right? Because what you focus on and think then affects your emotions, and so you have different feelings about people. I have a bad feeling about Prabhupada Priya. But it started with a thought, or maybe it's a remembrance of an experience, and I'm focused on that. I'm not focused on the good experience. If I focused on the positive experience, then I have a positive thing she did, then I'd have a positive experience, right? So the conclusion and the answer to your question is, I get to chant, I want to chant, and I love to chant. I get to go on Sankirtan, I want to go on Sankirtan, and I love to go. I get to rise early, I want to rise early, and I love to rise. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Prabhu Premanandi, Hari Hari.
Mahatma Prabhu ki jai.